We zitten hier bij Firstlook, bij alle voice actors en bij alle stemmen die Firstlook geregeld heeft. En wij zitten bij Erica Schroeder. En die mogen wij vandaag gaan interviewen. En ik ben zo excited, omdat ze onder andere zuster Joy doet. Mijn eerste naamgenoot ooit.
Hello, Nurse Joy.
Hi, welcome to the Pokémon Center.
Thank you. There's nothing like a little sea air to make Nurse Joy even more beautiful than ever.
How did you get into voice acting?
I studied acting for the stage, for theater. I've done a lot of regional theater, some Broadway, off-Broadway. It's kind of a natural transition. A lot of voice actors in New York are from Broadway. There's a musicality that we understand in the melody of the voice that kind of lends itself really well to voice acting. And I was also like one of those kids that would like brush her teeth in front of the mirror with my brother and sister and like make funny faces and do voices. And I was always, said I'm going to be the voice of a cartoon character. I don't know how or when, but it's going to happen for me at some point. So it was kind of a life goal. And I ended up getting in, my first project was called Ultraman Tiga, which was a live action series. I never thought I would get hired to be my own voice first, but you have the skill set of an actor, and then if you have this other skill set of transforming, that's a great plus, but you don't necessarily need it if you're going to be just doing voicing. Video games are usually closer to your own voice. Animation tends to go from realism to extreme characters.
So is there a huge difference when you do video games and just animation series?
There is a big difference. With video games, you usually get like a huge script. You get lots of lines, and then you do each line 3 times in a row. And with different emotions or different sensibilities, maybe one is a little more intimate, maybe one is more called out, because sometimes you don't know exactly the distance of the characters, you don't know the intensity, so you always give them 3 options, and you just go through the cues like that. You're not with anybody else but the director and the engineer, and you don't have any visual at all. With animation, it's different. I mean, you do the scene with either of the other actors if it's prelay, or even sometimes you do prelay with just yourself, no other actors in the booth, and they'll play you the other actors' cues to act off of, or you do what's called ADR, which is a lot of what I do, which is automated dialogue replacement, which means it was in another language first, and in that it's very much like you're reading the emotion of the character's face as you're acting. It's also timed, so you have like 2 lower beeps and a high beep in your cans. That's like another word for your headphones. And then you just look, you kind of memorize at the same time you're looking at the character's face and emotion, and you're trying to capture the essence of that. So it's a totally different skill, and I love doing that too. I love doing all of them. But also the trend in video game acting in the last like 5 years is towards more realism. It's almost like if you were in a film, like a dramatic film, that's how you would approach certain video games. Not particularly the ones that I do, because mine are a little bit more like over the top. But yeah, there are a lot of differences.
Yeah, because since the PlayStation 3, something like mocap really, took the voice acting and the acting in games to like a whole nother platform. Have you ever done that already?
I did the Just Cause 3 recently, but as an extra character, I was asked to be a Mediterranean woman, but not actually from the Mediterranean. It was from a fictitious country, so they asked me to create my own accent. And I was like, that's cool. So they wanted something like a French-Italian mix. So I came up with it, and they wanted me to be like 60 or 70. So
I had to be this woman from. She was much older.
And kind of capture the essence of that village as a spectator, So it wasn't like a playable character. It was one of the characters that you run into in the game.
But to me, it sounds like there has to be a lot of creative input from yourself, but maybe that's a layman's view. But it almost seems like voice acting and regular acting, it's super close.
Yes. There's not much difference. If you notice too, there's some voice actors like myself. I know a couple other, like if I'm fighting someone, I'm like, and I have to be like, do an exertion react. I'll take my fist and be like, like as I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Or if I have to jump, like you can't jump, you can't touch your own body as you're acting, which is hard because like you get this fabric sound or whatever. You have to be careful not to wear, I never would wear this because of the zipper, it makes sounds. I have to wear clothing that doesn't make noise. We call it noisy clothing. But I don't always have to physicalize, but I find that especially with certain scenes, it really helps physicalize. And if you notice, if I'm playing like a boy, my face turns into like a boy's face. And if I'm playing an older woman who's like sickly, like my whole body language changes and I become like, so I feel like the physical and the vocal are very interconnected. And when you combine those, but also there's a heightened sense of hearing when you're doing this. There's a heightened sense of musicality. Say you want to say a line that's like, I'm so scared, I don't know when they're coming. Someone might say like, and if it's like a heightened character and a heightened emotion, a regular person might say, I'm so scared, I don't know when they're coming. But you want to find the emotional levels in that character, so you wouldn't necessarily have things landing on the same note, actual musical note. You think of musically, I'm so scared, I don't know when they're coming.
Yeah.
There's different things that you listen for as a trained musician and a voice actor that you wouldn't necessarily hear if you hadn't done Shakespeare or were doing like a play that didn't really involve that kind of cadence. But like Shakespeare is also very musical and rhythmic. The iambic pentameter kind of can really help too when you're doing certain characters.
You could hurt somebody,
Who are you?
Monkey D. Luffy, but Luffy for short.
Another thing, you do a lot of different stuff. You voice male characters, female characters, even Pokémon, like animal-like creatures. How do you switch between that?
It's interesting. A lot of it is just ear training. There are things called references, voice refs. Sometimes if you haven't done a character for a long time, when you come in, you'll say, may I have a voice ref, please? And they'll play like the last 5 cues of your last episode, or some directors like to play the first episode of the character so you can find that voice again. Some voices like Luffy and other characters like Bianca or Pancham that I can go to like that, like even years later. And then there are some voices that I'm like, the dialogue, it's not about the voice, it's about the essence of the character and how they interact with the other characters, and it has more to do with their actual words that they say. It's not about a voice per se. None of them really are. There's a lot behind it. But how do I switch back and forth? Sometimes, I'll tell you what I do in terms of, sometimes I play like 4 or 5 characters in one show. So the director will say, do you mind if we start with this character? Most people know I go highest to lowest. So whatever the character is that's the smoothest and the highest, I start with that one first, and then I go down the line. So like if I'm in a show where I play a dragon, I will do the female young character first, and then I will do the dragon last, or the alien, or if I'm doing Pokemon, I will do Sylveon first, and then I will do Pancham, so that vocally I don't hurt myself. One is more vocally strenuous than the other.
I was wondering, because when I did a little research, I saw indeed that you did different voices in like the same franchise. I was wondering, are you like having a conversation with yourself at that moment? How did I record that?
I have had a lot of conversations with myself in different series, but because that's an ADR show, that particular series, I would record one character first and then the other character. So there was a scene, like a couple scenes in Tai Chi Chasers. I played the main character of Rai, and then I also played Kamorka, who was like the Tigeroid leader. And they were so different, but they were in a lot of scenes together, just the two of them. So I do one first and then the other one, and then I didn't get to see it. You don't get to see it unless you watch the show. They never show the actors the final episodes. So if, in essence, if you don't know when it's on or you don't watch it, like you never see what actually happens. Sometimes you know the general plot, but sometimes you don't know like 2 characters that have a scene before you. or a scene after you, you don't see that because you're not there for it. So it's kind of fun and exciting to sometimes watch. I don't watch a lot of my own stuff, but I do watch Pokemon because my kids are in love with Pokemon. And also I watched my new show, Regal Academy, which is on Nickelodeon in the United States, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I play the character of Astoria Rapunzel, and she is a descendant of Rapunzel, and she goes to a school and she's learning magic, and I love playing that role. So I watch that with my kids, like in real time, because they love it.
So cute. They didn't recognize your voice, that they're like, oh, mommy, that's you.
Sometimes they'll be watching on Netflix, like Pokemon Black and White or something, and they'll be like, Mom, did you play this character? Like, it sounds like you. Like that old lady in the corner who has a jewel in her hand. Is that you? And I'm like, I have to go in and I'll be like, yeah, that's me. Or occasionally they get it wrong, but most of the time they get it right, also because I read to them every night for like 45 minutes. I used to read to both kids, like separately, 45 minutes. Now my husband will read to one, and while I read to the other one, and so I do all the voices of all the books. And my favorite is Sesame Street. Like anything that has Sesame Street in it, because I voice all the male characters. I don't do the females as well, which is funny, but there's like 7 or 8 characters from the Sesame Street that I do. So they've heard a wide gamut of voices from me.
You already mentioned that when you do different characters, you go from highest to lowest. What else do you do to keep your voice fit or prevent it from damaging?
That's a great question. I do like hydrate a lot. I always have like a bottle of water like this big. And then if I'm feeling a little bit under the weather or my voice is feeling tired, I will have like chamomile tea with honey in it, or throat coat. But throat coat makes you ticky-tacky, it's called, which means you have like a wet mouth, and that's not good. I can tell you all some tricks if you'd like to hear them.
Yeah.
If you have like what's that's called, like the wet mouth or ticky-tacky, you want to take like a little bite of a green apple, and it cuts through that whatever is sitting in your mouth and makes it clearer. And then the other thing I do to take care of my voice is if I'm playing a boy character or a rougher, older woman, I will do vocalises in between takes, so the engineers get used to me being like, I'm gonna get you, and then I'll be like, I kind of sound like that character from The Dark Crystal, but I just do like vocalises between takes. Maybe every 3 or 4 takes, I'll do like a and that smooth actually makes the vocal cords stay together, so they don't hit or start to break apart. So that works for me.
This is the list, if you can read my handwriting.
How about I do Luffy and Nurse Joy, maybe?
Yeah.
Do you have lines for me to say, or no?
No, I just thought like the favorite one-liner you did with those characters.
Yeah, I guess with Nurse Joy, it's just like a sweeter version of myself. She's almost a little Stepford, I would say. And she used to say, I can't remember the entire line, but something about, I've enjoyed restoring your Pokemon to full health. That's one of them. And then one of Luffy's lines that we said a lot was, I'm going to be king of the pirates. People either loved it or hated it. But so,
I'm gonna be king of the pirates.
that would be Luffy, yeah.
Well, I'm extremely happy because I got to speak with the real Nurse Joy. So this was Erica Schroeder on First Look. Thank you so much for your time. It was really nice speaking to you, and hope to see you here next year.
Would love it.